Hello. Oh, so good. So we are here live. I just want to make sure I can't see the comments on Facebook, you guys. I don't know what's happening with Facebook. There it is. Okay, Instagram. Hello, everyone. So we're going to be talking about these these three things, these three ways to really know, to truly know what it is that you want, to truly connect to that inner desire and the inner requirements. So, the first thing, really, like a side note, like a prereq before we get into the top three things, is to actually start changing your verbiage. So, even though I did call this how to know what you truly want, maybe it would have been better for me to say what it is you truly desire and require. But I don't think that most of you would have understood what that meant, and that's where I come in. So, one thing that I'm really known for, as many of you know, and for those who don't know me, I'm Caryn Terrace. I'm the Dragon Doula. I am a super conscious leadership mentor and practical magic consultant, meaning that I help you use practical, everyday, spiritual, and metaphysical tools to create unlimited health, wealth, and abundance in your life in a way that serves the whole planet. So, I am someone who, instead of saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag every day, says, I pledge allegiance to this planet and all of her inhabitants. So that's why I'm here, showing up the way that I do, talking about the things that I do, even though it might seem a little taboo sometimes. Asking for what you desire surely is something that's taboo here in the 21st century. Wow, what year am I in? So let's first talk about the words. The word want and the word need have very, like, just say them out loud. Just take a second. I want, right? It's kind of whiny, right? Like I want this. It reminds me of my like 4-year-old or 5-year-old kid. I want this, mommy. I want this, mommy. Okay, now I need this. I need it to happen. I need this job. I need this money. I need this deal to go through. Again, that like, just say it out loud. I want. I need. It's kind of like low and dense, right? They're very dense words, especially in a society where wanting and needing seem to be all we ever do because we're trapped in our root chakras, we're trapped in our lower survival, fight or flight chakras. And everyone out there who's walking around that you're like, oh, they're living unconsciously, they're not in alignment, etc., etc., where we all once were, let's be honest, are living in their root chakra. They're living in their first center. They're on the Maslow's like hierarchy of needs. He puts the bottom one in red, and it's food and shelter, right? You need somewhere to sleep, and you need something to eat, and you need water. You require those. Like we require them. We need them as human beings to just live, right? And then the next one after that is starting to have this community in these things. We all learned the Maslow hierarchies of needs in like high school, right? You remember the pyramid, the like colored pyramid? I thought it was really interesting when I started getting into spirituality that the colored pyramid, he lined it up. It actually matches the chakra pillars. So I've always like secretly wondered because they also line up. Anyway, so the first thing I really want you guys to do is just get rid of the words need and want. Change the word need to require, right? I require a new car. Not I need a new car. I require this job. I require this deal to go through. It has that regality, that that pungency, that potency, the sense of prestige, right? People who are searching and scrounging and in a lack and scarcity mindset, they need things. Those of us who are living in our higher chakras, who are living from our heart centers, who are running these soul centered business, we require it. It is this way. And we have a requirement because we know our boundaries, we know to hold our boundaries, we know all of these different things. So we no longer venerable. I don't know what that means, Sabrina. We require it, right? We require these things to happen in our life, right? Okay, you're saying from my post. So yesterday I posted on Facebook that the strength of a dragon comes from being visibly venerable, even though I meant to say vulnerable. And venerable kind of worked out because it means to command respect. And we do that by having boundaries. There's a saying that I don't know who said it originally, so if you know who it was, please let me know. But it's self-love is creating boundaries. Self-respect is holding the boundaries. I know a lot of people out there that say that they have boundaries, but then when you go look at their lives or how they allow people to treat them or the situations they're in, they obviously don't know how to hold their boundaries. And that's because they still are living in that base scarcity mindset of, I need this, I need that, I want this, very like whiny, victimy. That's just gross energy. Those words need to just like scoot out. And again, I know that I used it as the way to entice you into the title, but I also know how to get people in the door. That's one of my gifts. You're never going to come in to hear the lecture if the title outside is not something that hits, right? So, you change need to require, and you change, yeah, the misspelling was on accident. It was a misspell. It's happened a couple of times and I'm like, okay, world, like autocorrect, you be helping me out. So um you change desire, or you change want to desire. That desire, especially for women and men, but really for women, it does something. It just, say the word, I desire. Right? It's just like you can't say it without feeling sexy. You can't say it without like this energy of sexuality and magnetism. Right? Why are people, doesn't matter what sex they are, why are two people drawn into each other? Because of that attraction, because of the desire for each other. So instead of saying I want a new car, maybe you require one, maybe like you really do require one, it's breaking down, it's old, you have a bigger family, you're moving to a state that has snow, whatever, and you really like require a new car. But maybe you also just desire one. Maybe you've been in a space for a while where you're like, oh, my old car, I mean, it's getting by, it's still got a couple, you know 50, 60,000 miles on it, but like I really desire a new car. Like, oh, and then you can put it on your vision board and you put up that beautiful electric blue Toyota Highlander hybrid, all decked out with all of the details, all of the things. And you sit there, and every day when you do your meditations, you're staring at that car and you're just pumping it full with magnetic desire instead of, oh, I really want that car. I want that car. It would be really nice if I had that car. Oh, yeah, it'd be great if I had that car. But desiring the car, that has a whole other flavor to it. I desire this car. I desire it in my, it's how I'm gonna feel, right? The desire and require words, like I require that you get this done, right? Right? A blue Porsche, perfect. I require, like, it is a requirement. You think about college, right? You had prerequisites. You had things that you were required to do before you were allowed to the next level. That's what a requirement does. It makes it very solid, very sturdy versus a need, right? Like I need this. I need this. It's very wishy-washy. So I know that I just spent like 8 minutes talking about the etymology, but it's so important that we start recognizing the truth behind the first statement in Genesis. In the beginning there was the word, and the word was God. Well, it was really Jesus Christ, but we'll let that go. The word was God. So if you're walking around saying, I'm a goddess, I am the creator of my reality, I'm the one manifesting my life, then you better get your ass checking every single word that comes out of your mouth and every word that's circulating as a thought in your head, because words are the most powerful thing on the planet. Words are the most powerful thing on the planet. So the difference between venerable and vulnerable are huge, and yet you can command respect. You can have that being venerable also by being vulnerable. You can command respect via vulnerability. You don't need to be authoritarian. Lots of people see vulnerability as a weakness. I see it as our greatest strength, because when you're vulnerable, you show that you have an ushy gushy human heart. You make mistakes, you have typos, you let autocorrect speak for you. It gives you that, it takes you off of the pedestal. Those of us who are in service for the planet, we don't need to be the ones with our names on placards. We don't need to have statues it has nothing to do with our ego. We're doing this from the fact that we are driven by something higher than ourselves. Like I said, one planet under source with liberty and justice for all. That is my version of the Pledge of Allegiance. And it's to the entire planet and it's to the entire human race and really to all beings who live on this planet, all of them. So if you were to go look at the way that I vote or who I support, you probably wouldn't be able to classify me anywhere because I require certain things and I have certain requirements, right? Like I require that the food that I eat be of a certain quality. I require that the people that I interact with be of a certain caliber. And see that? Yeah, authenticity. The vulnerability allows for authenticity. So when I tell you that being a dragon means being fearlessly authentic, it means being able to get onto a live stream and talk about whatever it is that's on your heart and not care if your makeup is running or if you're crying or if you seem pissed off or an angry woman. Like you don't take any of those things personally because you know that you showed up from your heart and were authentic as fuck and you don't care that other people didn't receive it because you showed up as the person that you were meant to be on this planet, not who everyone thinks you're supposed to be. In fact, you've probably unbecome everything that you're supposed to be, and you're now creating a new life. That gets us back to knowing what it is that you truly want or desire and require, and then asking for it, okay? So, while we did just talk a whole lot about changing the words, the first really big thing is knowing what you don't want. It's this weird phenomenon, but it seems like because we were raised in a very like don't do this, don't do that, don't run in the street, don't like, right? How many of you learned lessons from a positive standpoint versus a negative standpoint? I know that everything for me was don't do this, don't do that, no, 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 no. So I learned how to associate my desires and requirements from a negative viewpoint first. Like, I don't want to live in a trailer. I don't really have a problem with trailer parks. I don't have a problem with living in modular homes. I just know that I don't want to live in one. Okay. But it's a lot, for a long time, it was a lot easier for me to say, well, I know that I don't want to live in an apartment. I don't want to live in a condo. I don't want to live in a townhouse. I don't want to live in a trailer. Okay. So what do you want? I want to live in a house. I want to live in a large house with property, right? I listed all the things I didn't want before I got to what I wanted. And that is a huge thing to not judge. Don't judge the fact that you know what you don't want, but you don't yet have the words for what you do want. You're fighting psychology, you're fighting neurons. You guys hear me talk about neuroscience and neurons that fire together, wire together all the time because it's true. So the thought patterns that you had when you were growing up and all of those, use them to your advantage. Okay, so if I know all the places I don't want to live, what does that really mean? And you reverse psychology it, right? Like use a little reverse psychology. You know you don't want a lover who cheats on you. You know you don't want a guy who does drugs. You know you don't want a guy who's abusive. So you know all the things you don't want. How can you flip the script? Being able to use a positive spin is probably the greatest skill that I've ever noticed anyone who's successful in the personal development world, meaning like the people who are out there teaching the big lectures, selling out the conference centers, selling out the books, all of those things. They have this canny ability to see the silver lining in literally everything. And I remember I used to get so annoyed by optimists. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm a realist. This is how the real world works, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized that the real world was all relative based on my own belief and beliefs on my own beliefs and the way that I was processing all the sensory information that I was receiving. So when I moved from unconscious, a pessimistic realist, into conscious, a optimistic realist, I was still basing it a whole lot on what other people had taught me and other people's belief systems from my childhood, belief systems from my parents, epigenetics, belief systems from the people that I was raised with, belief systems of my friend, of my husband's, And as I moved from conscious to super conscious, accessing those higher planes of reality, accessing clairvoyance, clairaudience, telepathy, claircognizance, all of those things, and was able to create a successful business and have literally the best life ever, to the point where I don't have a lot of friends in real life because they all hate how awesome I am. I know. I have amazing, like, some of my best friends are online and I've never hugged them before, and that's totally fine with me because they see me for who I am. And when I do show up at their door one day and we hug in real life, there's not going to be this weird, like, oh, you're not who you were on Instagram. Like, no, this is me. This is who I am. Just happens to be that a lot of the people where I live, they're still in the moving from unconscious to conscious phase, and there's a lot less of us who are moving from conscious to super conscious, which is fine. But in that change, I went from being, I don't want this, I don't like this, I don't like my husband, I don't like my kids, I don't like my life. I was depressed, I was suicidal for most of my life. I had fibromyalgia, I had degenerative arthritis, my body was attacking me. I was 21 years old with scans that looked like a 70-year-old woman. I was a drunk, I was a kleptomaniac, like all of the things that you can imagine a suburban housewife does, like just to get a thrill. That's what I was doing. Short of having an affair, and please believe I fucking tried because I wanted to do everything to justify my husband leaving so I could then justify killing myself without having any guilt. This was my life until 2017 when I gave birth to my daughter, which was a catalyst for all of my spiritual awakening. 2018 was when I moved really strongly into the super conscious and magical and metaphysical world. And last year was when dragons really popped into my life. And this year has been the most successful year, most like filled with bliss and happiness and prosperity. My words for 2020 were blissful prosperity. And even though the reality is that we had a pandemic and a lot of people lost their lives and lost their homes, lost their livelihood. That's not what happened to me. My business boomed. I have more clients, more contacts. I'm creating this change. I'm getting ready to run for city councilwoman next year, run for Senate in a few more years after that, and run for president in either 2028 or 2032. That's what my 2020 looked like. And it was because I knew what I wanted instead of knowing all the things I don't want. It took me knowing all the things I don't want, though, and living in that victimhood of I don't want this, I don't want that, I never asked for this, I didn't want this to happen. Meh, 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 meh. Take the things you don't want and start rewriting it. How can you know what it is that you do want based on the things you don't want? That's the first thing. The second thing is, what are you willing to lose? If I become a city council, when, not if, words are important. When I become city councilwoman, I am not going to be able to do as much traveling as I had originally thought for the next 4 years when it comes to speaking engagements. Now, don't get me wrong, city councilwoman doesn't require a ton of in-person time, and it is, it's actually very easy to have a full-time job and be on the city council. People do it all the fucking time. I am a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool 3 children. I did so before the pandemic hit. And I also run 2 businesses. One's a massage therapy practice, and the other one is my online coaching. And I also run these high level retreats. And that's what I realized. What I wanted to do, how do I want to travel next year? I want to hold 4 amazing, epic, badass affluence retreats attached to the whole affluence experience every quarter. I want to run my bespoke dragon invocations. I'm cutting them down to 25 a quarter. So I have more time and I have them spaced out and there's more of that urgency. I'm only going to be taking on 3 or 4 new clients every quarter for 6-month packages, which are increasing in their price. All of these things are because what I want more than anything is to be president of the United States of America, because I know in my fucking bones that my heart, my soul, my guides, my dragons, everything will help me get there and help me change this planet in such an amazing way that I can't do from behind my screen. I can do a whole lot from here. I influence thousands and thousands of people every single week. I can impact millions. I can impact the entire world if I am willing to give up my dreams of traveling all over the world, constantly going to different conferences, constantly being invited to speak. And there's no saying that I'm not going to be going to some summits. I already have some invitations for next year that I really want to be able to go to, but I have to know what I'm willing to lose. I'm willing to lose hours with my kids, and I have over the last 3 years while I've been building my business. I've been willing to lose that for the fact that I'm building a legacy, that I'm building a family business, I'm building an empire. No one in my family will have to worry about money for, as far as I'm concerned, ever again. And that's my goal, not only for my own family, but for every family, because in my vision, unity consciousness, the new earth, we don't need fucking money. It's like, do you guys remember Standing Rock? Anybody? Keystone Pipeline? The pipeline that was going under North Dakota and the Sioux Nation. Anybody? If you had gone to any of the camps, which I didn't, but I knew people that did, there was just like a big pile under a tree of all the things, all of the different goods that could be used, your stoves, your firewood, your tents, all of that, with a sign that said um, something along the lines of "We're all sharing. Take what you need." The camps were always clean, even though there was no one in charge of cleaning them. Everyone always had enough food, always had enough water. We're willing to give you a pair of socks if you needed it because yours had soaked through. Yes, you remember it. That was like a mini utopia, even though it was anarchist in the fact that there wasn't really like a strong, like one singular leader. And I don't see how now in this global economy, the fact that I'm talking to you on a laptop and a phone, both made in China, speaking to people all over the world via the World Wide Web. Millennials, we get this. We know that we live in a globalistic society already, and we're kind of wondering why our governments haven't figured that out yet. I have to be willing to say things like that and know that I am going to probably get ridiculed for saying, oh, but what about America? And it's the greatest nation, and we need to stand by our borders. I'm sorry, from space, there are no fucking borders. We are one planet, under source, one race, under God. That's it. The amount of melanin in my skin does not make me any different than you. Your problems are my problems. Your children dying are my children dying. That is how I truly feel in my heart of hearts. So I know that I'm going to sacrifice so much, so much in the next decade of my life in public service while other people are growing their families and going on all these vacations and creating all these things, which again, I'm not going to give them up completely, but I have to be willing to create those boundaries. Remember, when I know what I require and I desire, I'm creating boundaries. And then I have to hold the boundary to actually receive what you truly want, not just know it, but then know that it's gonna, like, know deep down in your bones that something is gonna happen, even though there's no physical, like, proof yet. You just hold the course, like, I know this is gonna happen. I know this is gonna happen. It doesn't fucking, I don't care what you guys say. Like, blinders on, fingers up situation. Like, this is what's happening in my life. You witness it over and over and over again. There is a multi-billion-dollar industry called the personal development industry that shows you time and time and time again when people put their 100% focus into the problem and solution of their lives, they create miracles. Living in a constant stream of miracles is setting an intention being something you claim to be now, not gonna happen sometime later, but right fucking now, I intend to be president of the United States by 2032. It is fucking done. And every day I wake up and get back into that vibration. And every day I have little whispers. But what about this? You're going to miss this. How are you going to this? And I have to literally just be like, nope, I know what I want. And what I want to do is serve this planet to the highest capacity. And as far as I'm concerned, the way that I can do that is through the political career. Even as a witch, even as a dragon, even as someone who talks about wet pussies and taboo subjects like legalizing all drugs because it's a healthcare crisis, not a criminal justice crisis, or opening all the borders, or any of the other super crazy things I talk about that really, we're all talking about it behind closed doors, so why don't we just get those conversations out in the open so we can actually affect fucking change? So, once you know what you don't want and you've written a list that's then the opposite, right? You've taken all the things you don't want and figured out based on that what you do want. You've then decided, if I do want this, I'm really going to go all in. I'm going to do whatever it takes, no matter what, to reach these goals, to make these dreams come true. Because I'm going to make them. I'm not going to go wish upon some star. I'm going to take the action. Sometimes the action is pure surrender. Sometimes the action is, I know that you're here. I know that they're there. I know the next client is coming. I know the next connection is coming. I know the next whatever is coming, and I am just here to surrender and receive. Sometimes that is the most terrifying thing you can do. You know something else that's super terrifying? And the third thing that you absolutely have to be able to know what you truly want and then have it manifest and have it be created, you have to be willing to ask. You have to ask. There's been a quote going around this week from the Rising Women Instagram, and it's been shared like everywhere. But it says ultra independence is a trauma response, meaning you were burned so many times by friends, family members, colleagues, lovers, that you've decided that going alone is safer than asking for help. Not only do you not trust other people, you don't even trust yourself to trust people. Like I can't even choose who to trust because obviously look at all these times I got fucked. So I'm just gonna do it myself. No one can do it as good as me. Blah blah blah. I have this, guys. I have this hard. So I get it. I get it. I also know that if I look back at the last 3 years of my life and how I went from being a depressed, suicidal housewife to who was overweight, like 200 pounds, like if literally go watch some live streams from 2 years ago. They're up. I haven't taken any of them down at all because I am someone who's vulnerable and I am someone who doesn't give a fuck if you go watch my first live streams where I was nervous as shit and overweight and no makeup so that you can see the transformation. People are like, you don't sound the same. You don't look like the same person. Half the reason why I don't have friends in real life is because I live in what we call Small Lake City, Utah. Everyone knows each other already. So for me to have changed so much actually tells them, what the fuck am I doing wrong? If Caryn can go change her life, what am I doing wrong? And of course, we know how that makes people upset. Thank you so much. I am transitioning from conscious to super conscious, and I really appreciate these reminders. Yes. Marissa, get into affluence. Come on, girl. It's go watch. I will send you a DM too. If you guys are wanting to really kickstart this and you know everything that you don't want and you're willing to dissolve those realities and you're really ready to let it go and have a really strong foundation for creating your spiritual empire, creating your next moves. If you don't want to have a coach for the next 2 years because you already have it planned out, that's what affluence is for. Yeah. I'm not going to go too much into it, but check out the other posts, the other videos, DM me, want to set up a call about it, please let me know. You have to ask, okay? I have to take the ask. I just showed you. I have to ask. I'm never going to sell anything if I don't make a pitch to people, ever. I'm never going to become city councilwoman if I don't go knock door to door and ask for their vote. I never would have been where I am. I would not be where I am, and I might get emotional because I tend to get emotional when I talk about this. I would not be where I am if my grandfather hadn't died in 2018. And if I hadn't asked my dad for $6,000 to attend a 12-week course that ended in um, was it 12 weeks? I don't know. Feels like it was less than that, but it might have been 12 weeks from mid-August of 2018 to mid-October 2000 or mid-November, which ended in a retreat, right? So this is why I love doing courses that end in real life retreats or have a real life retreat in it because it just creates a little bit different feel, right? It's like it makes it real. If I hadn't have asked my dad and said to him, I was grandpa's only grandchild. And if he was still alive, I'd be asking him, which really I'd still be asking my dad because by the time my grandpa died, my dad had power of attorney anyway. If I hadn't asked my dad for that $6,000, if I hadn't taken that course with Lorna Johnson and Colleen Morgan, if I hadn't have taken my road trip to New Mexico by myself, staying 4 days at the Christ in the Desert Monastery, the most remote monastery in the Western Hemisphere, where I literally had no contact to the outside world over the 2018 election, like the release of the election day, I wouldn't be where I am today. I know that for a fact in my bones, in my gut, in my heart, in every part of me, that if I hadn't have asked for that amount of money, and it wasn't a loan, it was I am asking for my inheritance. I have no idea how much money my grandpa left my dad. I asked for $6,000 of it. And that one request, which was terrifying, by the way, because I was always asking my dad for money. I always used my dad as a safety net until last year when he lost his job and he no longer was able to do that. And lo and behold, dad goes loses his job and my business goes and takes off because I didn't have a choice. I no longer had daddy to save me. He went from working a corporate job for 27 years. They fired his ass on a 6 month severance. Like, talk about how much I hate fucking corporate America. Gave his whole heart and soul to that company and they fired him 5 years before he was going to retire. Anyway, if I hadn't have asked for that, I wouldn't be where I am. If I hadn't asked the two women that are helping me co-create affluence, it wouldn't be happening. I had to ask for help. I could have pulled it off. I could have in 6 months. I would have put the date out in the springtime. I would be doing all these things. We've pulled off putting together an epic experience for you. I think that we put the deposit on the house like the week of my birthday, so a month ago. And we already have created such a vision that I never could have seen because I wouldn't have had their geniuses along with mine creating this. I didn't even really know that that's the type of thing that I wanted to create. All I knew was that I needed to be in Sedona over 11/11 and that I was going to be doing a retreat. That was all I really knew. And the rest of it came from source. The rest of it come from the alignment, the daily practices, right? These are my boundaries. These are my requirements. I don't do things outside of my requirements. I set certain times for when I'm doing my work. I set certain times for when I'm doing my home and I go all in. If I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. If I'm with my husband, I'm with my husband. If I'm with my job, I'm with my job. My business, my work. I fucking love it. It's play. It's not even a job. Why would I what? Words are important. I know what I require and I know what I desire. And what I desire is to live on a planet where every single human has access to food and water and medicine and education and technology. I desire to live on a planet that shares its resources, that takes care of the environment, that doesn't care what it is that you do behind closed doors, that takes care of those people that are sick and suffering and addicted to opioids and chemicals that are produced by big pharma and the drugs that are on the street that they then get addicted to when they no longer can afford those pills. I want to live in a place where I know that my kids aren't going to have buried 10 of their friends from overdoses by the time they're 30. I can see the future so clearly. I go there every day. And then when I come back here, what do I need to do? What actions do I take? I take 100% responsibility for climate change and all of the problems on the planet. Why? Because they exist and I can't force other people to do anything. All I can do is what I can do every day. I can protest and hope that with enough protest, there creates enough pressure on the political system that policies are put into place. That's an option. I can run for political office. Thank you, Marissa. Yeah, I get really emotional when I talk about the future because I do have 3 kids and I was also raised on Star Trek and I kind of would like it if we could just get to there. Like, can we just have replicator technology and no more war and famine and pain and suffering? Because that would be fucking cool. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of pain and suffering in Star Trek, so I'd like to get a little bit further. But like the world government situation and not the New World Order, no, that's not what I'm talking about. New Earth and the New World Order are not the same fucking thing. Oh my god, at all. So let's recap. Now that I've gotten emotional. Oh, guys. Think about, for just a moment, I want you to think about that. Thank you, Sabrina, for bringing that up. I had autocorrect accidentally. It accidentally said being visibly venerable instead of visibly vulnerable. Visibly commanding respect. Who do we know did that using vulnerability? The first person that comes to my mind is Martin Luther King Jr., who was one of my heroes. I always get emotional. Susan B. Anthony, Joan of Arc, these people that created change and imprinted our lives, not because they were Hitler or Mussolini and scared everyone and terrified them and used power and authoritarianism and fear to demand respect. Those people I would not consider venerable at all. Martin Luther King Jr. used love, unity, bringing us together. He's someone I would consider to be venerable. He commanded respect without screaming at anybody. Oh, he was passionate. Oh, he said things that pissed people off. The man gave his life for his cause. But he was willing to lay down his life because he knew that other people would pick it up, that it didn't have anything to do with him. And it had to do with his dream. That is also my dream as a suburban housewife in white as fuck Utah. I have a dream that one day black people and white people will stand together on a hilltop and sing. And it won't matter the color of their skin. And I think so many of us are actually there, but we're so afraid of what our neighbors will think. Oh, what will happen if I put a Black Lives Matter sign on my lawn? What'll happen if I put a libertarian candidate sign on my lawn instead of a Biden Harris or Trump Pence sign? We're so afraid of being different, even though what we want is different. It's different than what's going on right now. We're not okay with the current system. So many of us are saying fuck the system. The rest of us are saying fix the system. Dragons. Dragons destroy so they can create. There's a reason why I have Shiva behind me, even though I'm not Hindu. He reminds me that sometimes the way that we show that we can command respect is by showing how powerful we are. I am happy to snap my fingers and let all of this shit just break. Because if it's broken, people will come to fix it. If enough of us put the pressure where it needs to be, because we know what we want and we are willing to ask for it. We're willing to lose the safety and security blanket that we've created. We have traded our freedom for security. And I don't know about you, but I'd like to see what freedom looks like for a little while. That's what true sovereignty is. Think about Standing Rock. They had pretty much an anarchist little town going on there. And yet the streets were clean and people had food and water and medicine. And the government attacked them. My neighbors can go to the city council and complain about their rights, that they're going to lose their space in their backyard if if more affordable housing goes up in my suburb. And these people in South Dakota, North Dakota were being tear gassed and hit with rubber bullets for standing up for their right to their land. This tiny little piece of land that the white people left the Indians for nicety's sake. There is a lot of stuff that white people have to make up for, okay? reformations, tribal land, all of it. And guess what? I wasn't alive during any of it, but I will take 100% responsibility for it and the solution to it. Thanks, Marissa. Have a beautiful day. So, knowing what you want comes down to really four things. One, changing your vocabulary. Require it. Require that your life look a certain way and do everything every day for it to look that way. No matter what, you hold your fucking boundary. Two, desire. Desire magnetizes. Desire is sex energy. Desire is creation energy. So change your words from want and need to desire and require. Know what you don't want. Know all the things that you don't want. List them all out. Take 45 minutes and write all the things that you don't want anymore. The things that you wish you could just abolish and destroy and light a fire to. Just breathe dragon breath all over it. Take that list and then make a list that's the opposite. Clearly, based on all the things that I don't want, this is what I do want, and start making a positive spin. These are the things that I do require. These are the things that I do desire. Realizing that making those declarations, setting those intentions means that you're going to be losing things and be able to make your peace with that. I may not be a millionaire. No, that's not true. I might not be a billionaire by the time I'm 40. I'll be president of the United States. I can't yet see a way that I could be both. I'm not saying that it isn't possible, but for now, I'm willing to give those things up. I know that I'm not going to be able to be a 24/7 stay at home mom if I want to be able to build my spiritual empire and have a political career. So, that part of me that desires to be a 100% stay at home mom, she's going to have to get over it. I'm pretty much over it. I really was not ever someone who thought that I would be a stay at home mom. I won't lie. Whoa. And then finally, ask. You have to make the ask. You have to ask for the connections. You have to ask for the phone number, ask for the meeting, ask for the vote, ask for the money, make the sales pitch, ask for the book deal. Once you know what it is that you truly desire and require, you will start making connections. People will start popping into your life. You'll be able to do what we did 2 weeks ago on here, which was create a synchronicity map where we honored our journey of how far we've come so far. So, one of those temperatures where it's like, it got too hot and it got too cold. I love you. I love you all so much for showing up every week. I'm here every week. Of course, I say that. And as I'm just about to tell you, next week, I am going to probably be on really early or in the afternoon. I'm taking a sound healing training, which I'm super excited about because I'll be able to bring like some toys on here for live streams, and I'm getting a new mic that'll be able to pick it up. But the training is from 9 to 4, so I won't be here for the regular 10 o'clock time. I am still going to show up live for you some point on Sunday. I just don't know exactly which time. Thank you, everyone. Just thank you so much for letting me show up for you every week. Thank you for being here to receive. Thank you for doing this work and changing all of the things, all of it, doing this work of clearing the traumas, healing the ancestral wounds, dealing with your inner child work. We are the 1% that is really going to change the planet as we move from unconscious to conscious and then from conscious to super conscious. And we can all be super conscious leaders in our own realm. You don't need to run for office. You want to be the best mom you can be. That's super conscious leadership. You want to be the best coach on a football team for the high school team. That's super conscious leadership. Not the best as in you win everything, but the fact that you showed up 100% for the desires that you have on your heart and you stayed within your own boundaries and your own requirements and you had enough self love to create them and you had enough self respect to hold them. And with that, I love you. Have a beautiful Sunday.